Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the 169th session of the Online Optom Learning Series, OOLS. And for today's session, we have with us Mr. Bhavin Shah. Mr. Shah has a bachelor's degree in optometry, also a master's degree, and is a member of the British Contact Lens Association. He owns a private practice, which is a multi-award winning practice. His practice won the prestigious Opticians Award for Technology Practice of the Year in the year 2020. He specializes in behavioral optometry, contact lenses, myopia management, and most importantly, he's incorporated technology very significantly into the practice. Done a couple of researches as well, developed certain programs specifically to eye movement and eye tracking. And his passion is basically for linking eye care with technology and also to help his patients with innovation. And today, Mr. Shah is going to talk to us about practice and technology, how to incorporate, what does he do, and give us some tips and takeaway messages which we can incorporate in the future. So welcome, sir, onto our platform.
Thank you.
And, let me just leave the screen time to you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Right. Thank you very much for joining us and inviting me on as well to speak. It's great to see so many different people from all around the world as well. And I know there's quite a few students on here. So actually, you're actually the future of optometry. So what you do now is just the start of your journey. And I've been practicing for over 25 years now, and I've seen so many changes. And getting yourself ready right at the beginning of your journey is really important to how things will go later on. So some of the things I'm going to be talking about today, let me just put my next one there. So particularly about thinking about the future and how we're going to be practicing in the future. So we've got so many threats and so many with new technology, but so many amazing opportunities as well. But how are we going to consider adding new technology to the way we look after our patients and the journey of our patients and our customers? And some of the most exciting things I like to have kind of looking in a crystal ball and what could the future hold. And in fact, I imagine some of you will actually be creating the future here as well. So first thing, do you consider yourself a technology company or a technologist? That's our first poll.
Awesome. Great. So for the students, again, it's more of, considering yourself. Do you consider technology as a part of your, whatever you do in terms of seeing patients and all of that? So it's a very simple question. We want to know whether you consider yourself, yes, or probably you're not there yet if you think like that. Great. So I'm just going to leave this for the next 5 seconds and end and share the results. There we go. So about 60% of them say yes, they are probably something like a technology company, whereas the rest 40% probably are not there yet, I would say.
Interesting. So I think one of the important things is, let me... I'm going to just close this one down. Oops. Right. So actually, every company is a technology company, and we're all technologists. The way that the way that technology has influenced our lives has changed so much. The fact that you're able to see me from the other side of the world, you're using technology, and especially when we're using technology now to do our work. We are all technologists. So that's a really important thing to remember. And thinking about that in that way will really help you how you're going to be incorporating this into the way that you look after your patients. So let me just a little brief bit about me. I know there's a fantastic introduction there already. So yeah, I'm a behavioral optometrist. My practice won Technology Practice of the Year. And in fact, some of the things I'm going to be talking about were the steps that I took beforehand. And, it was a good 5-year process to reach that point. So there's work that we work on and trying to help our patients, and using technology to help our patients to see better, and looking after their eyes helps build up to that point. I'm also contact lens practitioner of the year 2019 and 2020, and children's contact lens practice of the year 2018, with all the work that I've been doing with myopia management. I've always been a technophile. I was designing websites, in the 1990s and early 2000s, and I've been involved with a tech startup that looks at eye movements and eye tracking. I also advise companies about health tech and trying to add technology into their journey, including mentoring businesses. And we've just got a podcast recently with all the people that are in this industry. There's people doing lots of other exciting things as well. So, we're using our skills for looking after our patients and our optical skills, and being apply them to different passions and different hobbies as well. So the optical industry, it's a fascinating industry. For the last 100 years or so, there's been hardly any change, except for the last 10 years. People were using charts that were fixed to the wall and internally illuminated. The lenses, the way we were checking eyes, it had barely changed for such a long time. And then suddenly, as technology started kind of coming in, little different areas of our work started getting impacted. I know when I was at university, the way that the technology that we have now wasn't even dreamed of, and it's changed so much. And I think the next 5 to 10 years are going to be so exciting with some of the new things that are on the horizon. It's going to be threats, and there's going to be some amazing opportunities as well. I don't know if anybody remembers these Nokia phones or the BlackBerry. So maybe up until about 2020, Nokia particularly was the world leader in mobile handsets. They had at least 40% of the market share in handsets. They had the best technology, the most advanced. They knew their customers. And then suddenly, what happened? They were going from hundreds of billions to being worth hardly anything. So what happened? What changed? And even like the BlackBerry, which was an amazing device, that had cutting edge security. Companies were safe using that for their emails, and that company barely exists anymore now. And that's because they weren't able to keep up with their customer needs, what their customers wanted and expected, and being able to incorporate technology into their journey. So we want to make sure that we're still relevant for the future. So markets do get disrupted very, very quickly with new technology. And in particular, we have a huge shift in what our customers want. How our customers are using technology is often more ahead than we are. They'll have the latest phones with the latest options, and there's other companies that are vying for their attention, they're vying for their business, and they're trying to use technology to give them an edge. And in fact, a lot of these advancements in technology, they are pushing forward to try to disrupt the way things have been. And understanding this and knowing where things are going and what our customers need helps us to stay relevant, and we're going to stay fit for the future. So how I start, I'll do something called a SWOT analysis. Now, I know this is a business task. I'll do it for my business. And what we will do is a SWOT. It stands for the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities in the business, and threats. Now, it's a very simple premise. It's very easy to do. And this even applies if you're a student as well, just looking at the way that you're working, the way that the industry is. Thinking from this point of view helps us to kind of plan for the future. So I want to run a poll here. And this can count for the business owners and for the students as well. When did you last do a SWOT analysis?
All right. So I have launched the poll and we are getting some responses. Thank you so much, for everybody who is participating. This is just to know the knowledge you have, and if you have done SWOT analysis before, and how frequently have you done that. And I'm just going to leave this on for the next 5 seconds before I end and share the results. So it's kind of a mix here, I would say.
And it's good because a significant number of you have know what at least what a SWOT analysis is. For the ones that don't, you're about to find out, because I'm going to be showing you how I approach the task. And I do this quite regularly. I would do it at least once a year, and more. Especially when I see new things coming through in terms of new opportunities and new threats as well, and just seeing how our business is working. So I'm going to just stop that share for a moment. And so I like to start with threats, mainly because I'm in business. We're always looking at what's going to be threatening the way that we're doing things, and that gives us a starting point as well. But I'll be going through all the others in a moment as well. Now, particularly, we've got online sales, online examinations, and how our patients are using new technology. If you look at this, the picture at the top there, it's a woman using what's called a device by a company called IQ. It attaches to your mobile phone. It's kind of $60 to $100 for this device. You attach it to your phone, you take an image, and it will give you a prescription. Now, we in practice, we think, how can someone be that accurate? How could it be that good to give us a reliable reading? But their results are showing something like 85% of their users are satisfied with their results. So doesn't mean it's a correct result, but they're satisfied. So enough for them to be able to move forward for using this kind of technology. And some of these other images I'm showing you, there are other companies who are all working on ways of doing remote examinations. It kind of cuts out the work that we do, and it allows people to sell directly to the public. And it is a threat to the way that we work. And online sales have changed. They've increased significantly. Now I've got the data here for the UK, and I feel it's similar across the world. Really, gradually over the last decade, they've been going up from small amounts, maybe 20% increase every year, and it's gradually been growing and growing. So all of these things are threats to the way that we work, and just thinking about these and helps us kind of know the way that we're doing things now, to be aware of these threats and what we can do in the future. So I'd just like to introduce a small poll here again. So what would you say was your biggest threat to your practice or to the way that you work? Or what do you feel may happen in the future? Is it going to be the online sales that may affect you? Would it be the online examinations, online marketing? A lot of companies have huge budgets to be able to market to people directly. And maybe actually now all the people listening on this talk may be able to use their skills by the end of it to threaten some of the other companies.
Awesome. Great. So getting a couple of responses here. I'm just gonna wait for another 10 seconds for people to just chip in and put their thoughts. What would you say is the biggest threat to your practice or to your business? And if you're a student thinking about future and you are out into practice, right? Great. So I'm just gonna share the results. So I think a lot of people think is the online marketing by the bigger companies, followed by the online sales. So it's more of the online thing which is threatening people here. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, there is a lot of marketing going on by the big companies. They have huge budgets to kind of spend money to attract more customers and more patients. So maybe worthwhile, maybe in the future, doing a course on online marketing. So let's close that poll. So some of the weaknesses. Now, one of the reasons why companies get disrupted is because of some of these weaknesses, and especially with the internet. The internet kind of looks, and especially with new startups, that they look at ways, they look at weaknesses in the current models and the current ways of doing things, and they use that for finding their market. And then the optical industry has a few weaknesses that's meant that it's been ripe for disruption for a long time. It's very dependent on people and the people with expertise and people in the service industry work in practice. So taking that away, it means there's a commoditization of products and services so that you can sell them online and remotely. There is a perceived high cost or an opaque cost structure. So, I mean, people feel like a trip to the opticians for getting a pair of glasses is going to be expensive, or they don't understand the way that the cost structure works. So they feel it's going to be expensive. And obviously we're limited by opening times. We can only be open at particular times of the day. We can't work all day and night. And you can see there's a picture of a lady there. She could be there in the middle of the night with her credit card in hand, ready to spend lots of money online, and bypassing shopping. However, one of the most important things is that those same weaknesses are also our strengths. People like that in-store experience. They like a personal experience. At least 50% of people would prefer to go into a store and actually talk to someone. And 80% of those, if they're happy, they'll spend more and they'll enjoy the service. And if you've got a real problem, if you've got something that really needs to be solved, you'd much rather go and speak to someone face to face. And that's when our expertise, our understanding, and really conveying the value that we give as professionals is going to be so important. And especially if you have a problem, you're going to want to see a professional. And actually, just going back to the in-store, you can see a lady there, which is, she bought her new pair of sunglasses after trying them on in practice, and she's got her hands laden with the bags. So she's enjoyed the shopping experience and being in store. And that then leads us on to our opportunities. So as I was saying before, being the expert means that actually looking at specialist services, and as a progressive profession, we're always looking at new technologies, new services, new ways of helping people, and staying up to date with those, I think, is essential to making sure we're using the most of all the opportunities that we have. And the more expertise we get and the more we provide, the more higher value we provide, it raises the expectations of our customers and our patients. And they enjoy the experience as well. So technology is essential for just being able to drive business growth, enhancing the reputation of your business and of yourself. And also it helps give patients more value. So you'll be able to provide more for them. Now, what I do in practice, I have a look at a customer's journey or a patient's journey. It could be, I'm going to use those words interchangeably, a customer and a patient, but it's the same thing, that how people come to see us, their journey of coming to see us, how we look after them, and what happens next. It's a very kind of discrete steps, but that's become much more complex than ever before because of the impact of technology. And now there's loads of actually points within that journey where we can look at where technology can help us. So just to kind of break it down a little bit. So first, someone would say, oh, they've got a need. For example, they've had difficulty looking at the board at school, or when they're reading reading a book or reading on their phone, they've realized that things are harder to see. So they've realized they've got a need. And now, how are they going to look at the different alternatives that they have? So that they know that they're going to need some form of eye test. Are they going to look online to find someone? Are they going to ask someone for recommendations? Somewhere where they may have been in the past. And then once they're there for the examination, how have they got you? Have they given you a ring? Have they sent you an email or booked in from an online booking system? Once you've received them in the practice, how have you performed the examination? What technologies have you used? What else have you found while you've been doing the examination? Once you've done the examination, you're going to hand them over, if they need an optical purchase, to another specialist who's an expert with dispensing. And are they going to use different technologies to help, for example, for frame selection or taking measurements? And then once that that patient has gone through. How are we going to contact them again? Because we need to make sure that in the future, how are their eyes? Check them again in a couple of years, and if they've enjoyed the service, how are they going to recommend us? Are they going to post a review online? So all of these steps are really essential as part of the journey of your customers and your patients. So just thinking about all of those steps and thinking about where we could use technology to enhance all of those steps, not just the examination and the way we give them, the way we dispense them glass and the technology we use for glasses, but all the things. How are they going to find out information about their eyes? Are they going to read a blog or read a content that you've written? So there's lots of steps here. And I'm also a behavioral scientist. That's one of the things about how people make decisions is really, really fascinating for me. And we have what we call choice architecture. How do people make decisions? And understanding how people make decisions will help also drive some elements of the technology journey. Why would people choose an online versus a practice journey? And in fact, in the future, I think we're going to get what we call blended models. So they're going to be using a mixture of technology and a mixture of face-to-face. And I think especially now, people are getting a lot more sophisticated with knowing how they're going to choose. They may, for example, on the train to work, have a look at a practice near them. When they get to work, or maybe later on, they may give that practice a ring, or they may do some research a little bit later on when they're sitting at home. So there's going to be a mixture of things going on, and having an understanding how, in fact, even how you are taking decisions, how you, for example, if you have a particular need and you need to speak to a professional, what kind of steps are you taking? Or even if you're going to buy something at the shops, you may have seen some of your friends have posted something about it, and you think, oh, that's interesting. You've looked at it yourself. You may have asked them, and then taken the kind of decision then to go to the shop or buy online. We're all taking these decisions, and it's becoming quite seamless with all aspects of our lives. And in fact, thinking about what's going to happen in terms of this early part of the journey, mobile is here to stay. If anything, we're going to be using mobile phones much, much more than we're using now. And it's going to be an essential part of the journey. We're using it for research. We're using it for connection, communication, navigation. It's an essential tool. And in fact, a digital element of it, I think, in the future will be expected. So even from the bookings, the examination and the purchase, people are going to be expecting an element of a digital part of that experience, and it enhances all aspects of that. And in fact, if you have a specialized service, it will help drive customers to the physical in-store, in-person journey as well. So how are we going to start? What are we going to do to kind of assess the needs that your practice has for the future? So thinking about from a practice point of view, what are the technology requirements for your customers and for your practice? And if you think about what kind of technology you need for the kind of examinations that you want to be doing for people's eyes, thinking about where it will fit in with that process, and where technology can enhance the experience of the customer and the patient as well. So some of it will actually mean that it's not just helping you in getting better diagnosis and getting more accurate readings. There's an element where our customers and our patients feel value from using technology as well. It enhances their whole experience of your visit. And where can this technology help? Lots of them, whether it's testing, whether it's the dispensing process. So there's many areas we can look at which we can enhance. Now, some of the practical considerations now, some of the things that you have to consider, particularly when you have your own business as well, but also just for thinking about where you're using technology. Firstly, a lot of optometrists like myself, if they're technophiles, we love new tech. We love new things that are there, new exciting things. And one of the things I love about the industry is the things are changing so fast. And it's very easy to get caught up in thinking, oh, this is amazing technology. But just think about how that technology will fit into the way that you want to practice. and the way you want to specialize, the way you want your profession and your career to go. And also thinking about where you're going to put this thing in whether you're going to put this new technology in practice. I know I've had trouble sometimes. I've wanted new technology, but in practice, literally, there is no more space to fit another piece of kit. I feel technology will come to our aid here, because as I'm going to talk about in the future, there are some exciting ways around this. And also, you've got to think about, and this is more for the practice owners, but thinking about the return on investment when you have technology in practice. There's a cost involved, and often the new technology is going to be more expensive. However, if you budget it well, it can actually add much more value than the cost of the technology. I know in my practice, when I do advanced examinations, or if I do myopia management, for example, it does require quite a cost with new equipment, but that's more than paid for by the new technology, but by the patients that I receive, and the increase in turnover. And from that point of view, now I can actually budget that. I know that if I get a new piece of technology, I'll know how much extra income I'll generate to be able to afford the new technology. So it makes it very exciting. It means that I can make a lot of investments in new technology. I know that will mean I can help my patients more, and I know it'll also help grow the business and also my expertise. So we're going to think about the actual readiness for the adoption of new technology, and that can be our patients. Do our patients, do they want us to be spending more time with more technology? Some patients may not want to. And in practice, thinking about the rest of the staff, I know often you may find there's a practice member who's more resistant to new technology or having to learn something new. And I see that happen with some practices as well, that they've got a great new equipment or great new digital technology, but it's not being used, because either they haven't been taught how to use it, or they haven't been taught the benefits or the value of using the new technology. And just going back to the patient customer journey, just think about the requirements of your patient. What are they expecting from you at this time now? So I want to just add another poll question here, particularly in terms to obstacles of building the way that you practice, or the way that the practice of the future will be. Will it be to do with the cost? Will it be the question of understanding the technology, the adoption, whether the staff are going to be ready, making a good strategy, or whether customers will accept it?
All right. So that's a very important question, I think, being most of them students here, if they're thinking about their practice in the future. And a lot of you will, go into the practice. Either you will start working for someone, or probably develop your own practice. What do you think would be your obstacle to get into the future of practice? So a couple of options there: cost, understanding of the technology, whether the staff is ready to, they play a very important role as well. And will you be able to strategize, or it's totally based on the customer acceptance? Okay, so majority of them are thinking about the costs here. I'm just sharing the results. About 60% are into cost, and I think a good even spread between the other options, whereas the customer acceptance also is a bit of a concern by some of the attendees today.
Excellent. So that is very, very interesting, because I know when I first started this journey onto trying to develop my own practice for the future, yes, cost was probably one of the most important factors, and I think the acceptance of my patients for new technology, that I think that I felt was going to be a problem. But I think if I'd got the whole practice, the staff, and everybody on board, the actual acceptance was much more than I expected. which then helped with the kind of cost of technology. Let me just close this one down for a moment. So actually, what was very interesting for me in terms of the cost of new technology, lots of companies will allow you to try some of the technology out for a little while. May have a few weeks, or also to have the technology in practice, so you can see how it works in terms of testing it, in terms of seeing how your patients will take up on that. And when we've tried out, sometimes what we'll do, we'll work on a model of charging the patients as well, in order to, for example, maybe doing a scan of the retina, and then we can see what the kind of uptake is. If we know that the uptake, for example, when we first tried it, we had about 60 to 80% uptake from our existing patients, and we were expecting about maybe 40-50%, but we got significantly more. And then we could calculate from when we knew what the uptake would be, what the cost of having the technology would be compared to how much we would increase the turnover and increase the value. And it became a bit of a snowball. The more we had more new technology, the more we could add value to what we were providing the patients, and the more the patients were happy, the more they were recommending people. So where at first I was worried about the cost of technology in the practice, if you do it in the right way and plan it in the right way, it actually then becomes an earner as opposed to a cost. So now we can't talk about technology without having a few looks into our crystal ball as to what we think might happen. And I get asked these things quite frequently about what I feel is going to happen in the future in terms of technology. And I think we're at a really exciting time now. There's so many new technology devices, people working on really great new things. And I just want to talk to you about some of my favorites. So one of them is integrated technology. So you'll get one device that will have multiple functions. A few years ago, I introduced in my practice a device that did it was an autorefractor, a pachymeter, a tonometer, and a topographer in one. So that means I could get rid of 4 pieces of equipment, which then, as I was saying before, suddenly I had lots of extra space in my room. And then it would do lots of tests one after the other. And what I found was that patients love that, the fact that they felt like they're having lots and lots of different things happening, lots of different tests. It improved my quality of diagnosis. We could do, for example, we may do pachymetry. Also, it checked the angle as well for in terms of glaucoma, where you've got the drainage angle in the anterior segment of the eye. And I was able to get more reliable measurements. I was able to help patients. We were able to detect things like angle closure glaucoma more sooner. We were able to look at the things like cataracts and show patients an image of what their cataract was. And a lot of them, they've heard the word, but they just didn't know what it was. And suddenly I've demonstrated to them, and something as simple as that added loads and loads of value. And it helped kind of show us as professionals, because we can explain to them, but actually when you show them using some of the kind of new technology, it increases the way that the kind of regard that they have for us. I think there's going to be lots of exciting things that in AI, artificial technology, in terms of diagnosis. We've already got AI systems that can look at retinal images, and in some cases can be more accurate than expert observers and professionals. And they can be more consistent as well. And I feel we've only just started that journey with artificial intelligence. I feel that that's going to get much, much more accurate and more reliable as well in the future. And we're finding other links as well that maybe the AI can find that we haven't been able to find if we're looking at one part of the eye, for example, and if there's a link between blood pressure and we know there's a link between blood pressure and the retina, but can we find other ways of stratifying kind of measuring the risk where something, for example, like blood pressure may affect some other part of the body by looking at the retina. And And mobile devices, as I said before, we're getting much more used to using mobile devices much more frequently, and they're getting more powerful all the time. And we're going to be using some of this technology in our clinical use as well. And I feel that there's not long to go before there's going to be a lot more devices a lot more testing that we can do from mobile devices. And our consumers are faced with lots and lots of new technology as well. There's patents now for smart contact lenses, contact lenses that will measure your blood sugar if you're diabetic, or IOP during the day, or may even project a computer monitor for you to look at. So you don't need to take your phone out. You can just see the images in front of you. And similar with smart glasses as well. We're going to have technologies and displays that are built into people's glasses. And some of our patients and our customers will know more about this than we do, even before they before they even come to see us. And particularly VR, virtual reality, there's a huge increase in these kind of devices that are reaching mainstream now. And a dispensing optician who knows about how to fit glasses for a VR device, we're going to have more people using them, and that's going to be a specialist skill for the future. So what are some of my key takeaways? So what's really important, as I've been saying, that understanding your patient or your customer journey is essential in order to plan your practice of the future. And then just seeing where you can fit technology to enhance enhance the journey for the patient, and from your side, from the clinical side, where can you improve things? It's essential that you have your team and your patients on board as well. And I know in my practice, we're an innovation practice right from the beginning. So my patients and my staff have seen the journey and evolution that we've had over time with innovation. And just think about innovation and technology as a process. It's not a product. It's not a piece of equipment. It's not even a service. It's an ongoing process, and you're going to be continually developing, continually changing. There's going to be the whole industry will keep evolving and changing, and we've got to stay up to date with that. So just think about that. This is a process. So thank you very much for listening. And yeah, if you've got any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. That was really wonderful that you shared with us your journey, and quite a number of useful tips and how we can possibly incorporate some things and certain things which we are already aware, but as I was mentioning to you earlier, we probably do not incorporate it for some of the other reasons, but you tried to make it so comprehensive that it must have enlightened a lot of people today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
The first question was regarding this is probably a bit connected and slightly disconnected as well. But, when it comes to technology and all of that, we are using that for our patients.
Yeah.
But when we talk about dispensing, we do give a bit of discounts and, charging professional fees or discounts for the products as well.
Yeah.
Any tips on why do we still get
So I think like having an understanding of the value that we're giving our patients, and what are they expecting with their glasses, and I think taking it from there's two elements that I find particularly when it comes to dispensing, is an understanding the kind of prescription that we're giving a patient, understanding what they are needing in terms of visual correction, when and where they need it, and managing their expectations. For example, do they need something on the computer? Are they going to be using it for driving, for example? And actually asking the questions and having that conversation with the patient is essential. And then the other element we've got is the frame itself and what they're going to wear. We call it eyewear for a reason, because it becomes what they're wearing. So we've got just two elements. You've got this kind of clinical visual need going on, and you also have a practical need when it comes to the frame. So I mean, I'll often ask people, where are they going to be wearing them? For example, if they're going to be wearing them on a Zoom meeting, or if they're going to be wearing them when they're going out with their friends, what will happen is people would expect to have a particular look and a particular thing. So I'll have that conversation. I'll ask them if they, can they see themselves wearing them at this time? And that often means that they will be already thinking about what they're wearing, what they're going to be wearing them for. So that helps kind of overcome some of the objections that they may have later on, or areas where they could be dissatisfied. I think just understanding that journey is really important. And I find if I do that, I don't really need to discount either, because they understand what they're buying is a lot more value, which you can't it's harder to put a price on. I know that there's people who try and put a price on it, but I try and get them to understand what they're buying. We know what they're buying. They're being able to drive safely. They feel that they're just buying a pair of plastic and some metal, but we're making sure that they're not going to have any accidents on the road, or if they're, for example, going to be using a screen, they're not going to get 8s and 9s mixed up. If you're an accountant and you get your 8 and 9 mixed up, it's going to be expensive, right? More expensive than how much that they saved on the glasses. So it's trying to teach people the value that they're getting rather than the cost.
Yeah, right. And I think I'm just going to reinitiate the point what you brought it up as clinicians. Our role is definitely there. How we use technology is something which we need to look for. As clinicians, we are going to give our input. So that's what we are trying to say, that understand your patient needs. A clinician can understand that best,
yes,
and use the technology to its advance, or for its betterment.
And we use our experience and our expertise combined with the technology, I think, is essential.
Yeah. That's right. Awesome, great. And I did see the last slide. Just wanted to touch that up. You put up your slide where you had your face and you had the frame. So
yes, that's right. Yeah, so that was there's a company called 3DNA who take a scan of your face and will make a custom made frame for you.
Okay.
Which is perfect for your reading. So that was we were trialing out this the kind of tool that was used for taking the measurements and the scanning, and then it's nice fun. You can play around and you can try out all the different materials, or change the shape of the frame or the size, and which I think it's a little bit away, but I think that technology will start being used a lot more.
Yeah, it would help patients for getting the better frame selection rather than trying 10 different frames physically. They can do this, and that would be something to look at in the future, where your practice would have that set up, and people could just choose on the screen, put them on, and then I want this 5 to try.
Yeah, they can design something themselves. They may have either on Facebook, for example. Most of the time, a lot of people want something a bit different. They want something unique, and there's so much more value you can get by designing something yourself. Right.
Okay. Another question which comes up here is we are talking about technology and incorporating that. What do you think is the particular time of adaptation? Is there some transition period which we should give to ourselves when we want to go into technology?
In practice?
In practice.
Yeah, I mean, in practice, yes. I think there is a certain amount of learning for any new technology that you put in, and that's learning for us as clinicians how to use the technology, and for our staff to fit it into the journey as well, and for our patients. I mean, normally in practice, I will probably allow at least a few months to kind of get comfortable using new technology, and once I've had it there for a few months, then I know how well it's working. I mean, I'll try and get some of the suppliers if they can allow me to have at least for a few weeks to use something before I take a decision on buying it. I think most are happy to accommodate that.
That's right. And I'm just going to read one question here which came on my chat. It says that we do understand that technology is an investment. And if I were to invest for this technology as a new, fresh graduate, what are your thoughts? Which technology should I focus first if I have a budget constraint? So are there some favorites? Should I focus on dispensing? Should I focus on examination? Which one?
It's a very interesting question, actually, because firstly, you want to see who your kind of perfect patient is going to be. So actually thinking about this whenever, and I often give this advice to new practices, just think about what kind of patient you want to serve, how you want to look after them first. Get your kind of core values. Why should someone come to you as a practice compared to going to kind of someone else? What do you want to offer? And often if you own the business, it's got your own personality on there as well. So I would do that element first, and then think about where I want to work on. So if you want a practice that's going to be much more clinical, then you're going to think about the kind of clinical side of things. If you want a practice that's going to be more, say, fashion or advanced on the frames, then you'd put your investment in there. Some of these new multifunctional devices, as I was talking about before, for testing are great because you can get a lot in one device. And I find that can be a good way to start, at least, rather than getting into individual elements. But yeah, think about where your practice, what kind of practice you want to have. I know when I kind of, especially when I went down this journey, I kind of had in my mind, and I had actually written down what I wanted to be known for, what I wanted to have the practice for, and then I took the steps in that direction.
Right. Yeah. So I think understanding the practice would be the best option. And
what kind of practice you'd like. Yeah. What kind of practice? The whole beauty of having your own business is you can have the kind of business you want. Yes. And thinking about the kind of business you want will help you then decide what technology you'll need.
That's right. Awesome. Great. And I'm just going to put in one last question before we wrap up is, are there any resources you are aware of where we can find new technologies coming in? Is there something which
so I will speak to the a lot of the kind of providers. So in the UK, you may find a few providers who will be the distributors on behalf of the companies. So often I'll sign up to their newsletter. So they'll let me know when something new is out there. I tend to stay up to date with a lot of research. Now again, if you've got a particular direction that you're going in, that helps a lot. So for example, if I'm doing, say, dry eyes, for example, I'll know the kind of resources that are there for practitioners for dry eyes, and often you'll find out about new technologies coming through in that element. Or if I'm doing myopia management, for example, I'll join some of the forums on there, so you get to hear about the latest research, and then you get to hear about the latest technologies through there. So I think knowing again where you want to go, what you're interested in, you'll find there's a lot of resources in for each element, where a lot of practitioners, Facebook is one where there's lots of specific groups for each individual element, and a lot of those groups will have a lot of conversation going on, and people who are in the research element will kind of be posting their work. Otherwise, I think, the internet is a powerful place. There's so many areas of research, and you can either sign up to different newsletters, or just scan the internet to see what things you're looking for and what's out there.
That's right. I think a very important point you brought up is the instrument companies and the distributors. They will always have something coming up, and if
they'll always have something.
They always have something.
Yeah.
If the instrument is not with them, but it's launched in some other part of the world, they would know that, and they would keep sharing with you. So the newsletter, which is a very brilliant idea. People would not have thought. It looks like it comes into our email, but it's like a spam. We don't even read, but it has a lot of information.
They sometimes have,
right? Yeah, so it's really important. Thank you so much for sharing that thoughts and ideas. So With that, I think we would like to thank you, sir, for sharing the expertise,
My
your
pleasure.
thoughts, your views, and spending your afternoon with us.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Most welcome. We do have a session planned on the following weekend. It is going to be the 13th of March. Until then, take care, be safe, and I hope to see you during the next session. Bye-bye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.